Coder is an open source cloud development environment that you host in your cloud or on premises. But what does that mean? That is simple. With Coder, you can have multiple different development environments in which you can have peace of mind that each of them will have its own capabilities and doesn't interfere with each other. But you might be questioning, why is it a game changer and what problem does Coder solves? I always get bothered when I need to set up a new development environment from scratch. It's time consuming and error prone. Even when I try to automate things with tools like Ansible, it still wasn't the best experience, even though it works well. But Coder fixes this. It gives me clean, repeatable setup that just works. Honestly, it's becoming my daily driver on most of my machines right now. First of all, it's infrastructure as code based, so everything can be automated. But it also fits the ones that want a clicky configuration. It's really easy to use and yet so powerful. And I love automation, but I also know that some people just want to get things working without having to write the script for everything. There's nothing wrong by clicking through a UI, until it becomes a bottleneck, right? The goal isn't to shame that workflow, but to show how Coder can give you the best of both worlds. The ease of setup with the power and code being reusable. With it, you can create multiple development containers with persistent data that you can version, update, stop, destroy, recreate, do whatever you need. It has a Terraform provider to create its workspaces, which we will talk about it, desktop and web-based IDEs, and can be accessed from anywhere, no strings attached. If you don't have enough processing power in your laptop to run that heavy big data environment, you can connect it with a cloud provider like AWS, GCP, Azure and others to create VMs, or even host containers on Docker, Kubernetes and even Nomad. The possibilities are really endless. That all sounds good, but how could I, as a DevOps, SRE or sysadmin, manage and control everything that is running? Easy peasy. It has roles to control who can manage what, that again, for free on its community version. This video is sponsored by Coder, but the main reason behind it is that I was amazed by the tool itself. I'm a user of its open source, free version, right? And only after using it and solving so many problems in my workspace and home lab, I thought that I should give a try and talk with them. Also, they were really keen about this partnership, so here we are. I will guide you to the documentation on how to install Coder in a VM with Docker, so you can explore and understand how does it works. To run Coder is pretty simple. Let's go to the screen. Now, going to the Coder website, we can see that we have here an open source button. If we go here and select Coder/Coder, we can go to its GitHub repo. So all the code is open source and it's right here for use. But the thing which is most amazing here is that if you scroll down, you can find a Docker Compose, which is really well documented, and let's have a look on it. One important thing to mention is that there is a variable here called Coder access URL. If you don't provide your own private URL, it means that Coder will set up automatically a tunnel for you. So your servers will be accessible by your authenticated users through the internet. That's quite a nice feature if you want to expose your Coder service without needing to worry about the setup. But take into consideration that this is a public address reachable from anywhere that has internet access. This means that you should ensure that you are using a strong password or an OAuth to provide authentication like Azure, GitHub, GitLab, or others. In this Docker Compose, it will also create a container for the database, which is needed to run Coder. Now I'll go to my terminal and show you some pre-checks that we need to do. First one is that I have Docker installed on this machine. So I need to check out which is the group ID for Docker. And I do that by running the command get-ent group Docker, and it will show me this output. This 979 is the Docker group ID. There's also another way that you can get just that value. If you run the same command as previously and pipe in the output to cut -d colon -f3, which is the third field, it will give us just the number. So take this into account. We will need this value to deploy Coder. Now that we already have this data, let's create a folder for Coder. I will do a mkdir Coder, and I will enter into this directory with the cd command. Now that we are on this folder, I can just download my Docker Compose. Let's get the file on the website. So if we go back to the GitHub, we can click here on raw and get the raw file for this Docker Compose. So I can copy this URL, go back to my terminal and run wget and this address. This will download the file into our machine. Now we need to edit this file. I will do that using Vim. You can do with the editor that you prefer. So we'll do vim docker compose.yaml, And here on the section group add, I can uncomment the block group ID and also the ID of the group itself. And I need to change this to my Docker group ID. If you don't remember, it's easy if you are on Vim. You can just type ask colon exclamation mark and then run get ent group docker pipe cut -d colon -f3. This will get us the ID of it. Each machine can get its own group ID, so check it out before copying. So in my case it's 979, I will just type here 979. Then I will just save and quit. So now that we have our Docker Compose, I can just run Docker Compose up -d. So this will pull all the image and run Coder for me. And until we wait for Coder to be up, let's have a look on its architecture that can be explained by the following drawing that I will be showing on the screen for you. So here we have CoderD, which is the Coder daemon service, which is an API that connects all the components of Coder, providing HTTP API, dashboard, UI, workspaces, and much more. We also have the provisioner-D, which is the provisioner daemon which orchestrates Terraform to create resources for the workspaces. We also have the workspace, which is a set of resources that can be VMs, Kubernetes clusters, Nomad jobs, Docker containers, or anything Terraform can create. We also have the agents. For workspaces that are running an agent, we call them computational resources. Those can have either persistent or ephemeral storage to be configured on the template, which we will soon talk about it. The agent also provides SSH, port forwarding, liveness checks, startup scripts, and much more. We also have a database, Postgres, in the way that we are running Coder currently. We are using its bundled version of PostgreSQL, which is enough for testing Coder. But for production environments, it's highly advised to run an external PostgreSQL 13 Plus version. That can be as a cloud managed database as RDS, Azure Database, Cloud SQL, or even self-hosted. You can choose what you prefer. We also have Git providers that can be configured to pull and push code and artifacts. For this to work, Coder Server, which is also known as Coder Control Plane, needs to have connectivity with those providers. We also have Container Registry and machine images. Some examples are ghcr.io and Docker Hub for containers, or Amazon AMI for machines. Those provide the resources to be deployed. Therefore, Coder Control Plane also needs to have access with it. If you want to know about the hardware requirements, you can check the validated architectures, navigating into coder.com, clicking on Docs, Administration, Infrastructure, and then on Validated Architectures. Now that Coder should be already up and running, we can get its public URL by checking the Docker Compose logs with the following command: Docker Compose logs coder, and we can pipe this output to grep for try.coder.app. So if we run this command, we will see this line right here. So this is the address of our Coder instance that is accessible from the internet. We can also just run Docker Compose logs coder, and then we will also see this message. So we can copy this address and open it on our browser. So we just open it here, and then you will be greeted with a user creation page. In this page, you can either continue with GitHub or create your own user. I will just create a local user. I will type here my email and a password. Now I will just click continue with email. This will bring us to the main page of Coder, which I want to show you some stuff. Here we have our user menu, the workspaces tab, the templates tab, the create workspace button, the workspace overview, and the status bar. On Coder, we define the development environment with the usage of templates. Within the templates, you can specify not just one, but multiple containers or resources that will be a part of a dev environment. At first glance, on the templates page, we are greeted with a really useful page that tells us what are the next steps. It also has multiple examples that can be used as a quick start. So let's choose Docker containers for our lab. On this next screen, we can provide the data requested. In our case, we will use the following data. For the name, we will keep it as a Docker. For the display name, I will just type my first Docker container template. And on the description, I will just write, this is my first Docker container template. It uses the default configuration. And now I can just click on save. You will see some Terraform logs appearing on the screen. Please wait for it to finish and a new screen will be loaded with the template source code. For now, we will not dive into the specifics of the template, we will see that soon. If you got an error saying error pinging Docker server got permission denied, it means that you need to verify if you run correctly the steps on the Docker configuration, which we run to get the Docker group ID. Now that we have our first template ready, we can click on workspaces on the top bar. This will bring us to the screen with the running workspaces. Since we don't have anything running yet, there will be a hint on the screen to use the recently created template. Let's click on it. Alternatively, you can click on the new workspace button and then select the template that you want to launch. So let's select my first Docker container template. Now let's give an awesome name to our workspace. I will call it Caio Awesome Docker Container. And then we can also choose some parameters. I will not go into that right now, but we will see it soon. Let's click on Create Workspace. The workspace will be created and you will see its build logs. As soon as the container is created, you should see the following screen. We will have the workspace status, the workspace actions like stop, start, and restart, the auto stop schedule, the coder applications, the connect to SSH, and the workspace metadata. Now that we have our workspace deployed and ready, we can open the web VS Code by clicking on the code server, we can open the terminal, or we can open the VS Code desktop via remote development if you have VS Code installed on your machine. Let's connect via SSH on the machine. Let's click on connect via SSH. We need to install the Coder CLI on our machine so we can SSH into our dev container, so let's select it. On this page, to install the Coder CLI, you need to run the instructions related to your operating system. In my case, I will use the options for Linux and macOS. So I'll copy here, I will go back to my terminal, and I will paste and execute it. After having it installed, you need to run the command to log in into your Coder URL. So in my case, I will run my logs and get again my URL, will copy it, and then I will run Coder login and that URL. So this is what I need. As soon as I run it, it will show me a URL. I can copy it if it doesn't open automatically, and then open it on my web browser. So if I just go to that page, I can copy my session token. I will click here to copy it to the clipboard, and then I will go back to my terminal and paste my token. So you will have a message saying, welcome to Coder, Caio. You are authenticated. Now that we are authenticated, we can run the command coder config-ssh, which will populate our ssh config file so we can access our server through the terminal. So we will type yes for this question, and then we can just ssh into the container. It also gives us a hint. So if I just copy this command right here and paste it, you will see that we will just SSH into our container. And then we are finally inside this development container. One thing that is important to mention is that this container has its ephemeral and persistent storage, which is defined on the template. To check if it's working, let's do a small experiment. Create a text file with some content on your machine. Be sure to create it in your home folder. You can do that by running echo with some text message like this is my awesome text file, and we can redirect it to home/awesome text. So if we now do ls-l on the home, we will see that we have our awesome test here. Let's also install one application to our container. Since this is a Ubuntu machine, we will run sudo apt update and sudo apt install cmatrix -yq. This will download and install the cmatrix package. To check if it's installed, we can just run the command cmatrix -V. It will show us the version of the package. Now that we have the file created and the app installed, let's go back to our Coder UI. Click on Templates on the top bar and select My First Docker Container Template. Then let's select Source Code. We will look for a resource called Docker Volume, and we can do that by clicking on the file and then typing Ctrl F or Command F depending on your OS, and then searching for Docker_volume. You will see that we have a resource to manage our home volume, so this folder will be persistent, but everything else is not. That means that if we update our container, our awesome.txt file will be kept, but our cmatrix app will not, since we are purposely excluding cmatrix from this example. Let's do some changes on our source code by clicking on the edit button on the main DF file and on the resource code agent right here. After this line, which we have saying that add any comments that should be executed at workspace startup, we will add a comment, install some applications. And we will add the following commands: sudo apt update and sudo apt install -yq neovim and dns utils. Now that we added those extra packages, we can just click on build and then wait for the process to finish. As soon as it finishes and everything is okay, we can click on publish right here. This will enable us to create a new version for the template. So I will write a version here. I will just call it first container, and the version, I will use the semantic versioning since I'm adding a feature here. I will call it 0.1.0. And the message will be a feature, install neovim and dns utils. We will leave the promote to active version checked, so this means that this version that we are publishing will be the latest and greatest version for this workspace. So now I can just click on publish. If we go back to our main page of Coder by going back to the template and then clicking here on the workspaces, we can select our workspace, and you will notice that there's something different here, which is this button right here, which says update. So every time that we release a new version and set it as an active, users will be able to update the version by just clicking that button. If we click on this button, Coder will show a nice confirmation box to ensure that you are aware that all non-persistent data will be deleted. In our case, that means that everything that are not in the user home directory. If we click on update, we will receive the latest version of this template, so let's do it. After waiting for the process to complete, we can go back to our terminal and check the changes. First, SSH into the container with the SSH command, and let's check it out. Now we can just cat on our home folder the awesome text file and see if the content is already there. So as you can see, the file is there. We can also try to run cmatrix -v. You can notice that since it was not on the persistent storage, is not there anymore. But we can also check if the packages that we installed are there. You can do that by running dig plus short on coder.com. It should return the IP addresses. We can also run nvim -v to check the version of neovim, and it's there. All that looks amazing, right? But we are not here just for the basic. We want some real-world use cases. Let's imagine that you are a developer and you have multiple contracts with multiple companies. Therefore, you need to ensure that the work you do for Acme Corp, for example, does not interfere with the work you do for Umbrella Corporation or even nxt.sh. How do you ensure that you have sort of sandboxes and all data is not shared in between, even by human mistakes? What do? Coder got you covered. So first, we're gonna exit our container. And then what I want to do is to clone the following repository. So we'll do git clone on https github.com/caiodelgadonew/coder-templates. Now I want to enter on that folder by typing cd coder templates, and now we want to run the following command to upload the template to the Coder server. Coder template push -d dev environment -y -ignore -block file. After the completion of the template upload, we can go back to our Coder UI and click on the template stop bar. Now we see our template uploaded. Let's create a workspace on this by clicking on the create workspace. We will spin up a new environment for Acme Dev, so I will name it Acme Dev and click on the create workspace. Since this image is a bit bigger, it can take a while depending on your internet connection speed. Now that we have our image created, we can connect to it via SSH by clicking here and then copying the command. And then back to our terminal, we can just execute it. Now this container is ready to rock. I have everything that I need to start working. We can, for example, start a tmux session by running tmux. Looks pretty boring, right? But in the end, it's fully configured with all my preferences. To make it perfect, let's hit prefix plus I to install all the tmux plugins with TPM. In case of my image, prefix is Ctrl A. So I will hit Ctrl A, then capital I, and then we wait. Now I have tmux with all my preferences. I can also open neovim with the command nvim. As soon as it opens, you will see it installing all my plugins and preferences, and then becoming ready to code. You might be thinking, okay, this is just a normal development environment, and I must say that yes, in a simplified way, that's it. But not that normal. Now comes the nice part. We can spin up the same environment for the other two companies. Each container will have its own persistent volume, but all will have the same configuration for development. Let's do that. Going back to the Coder UI, we can go to the home folder and then click on new workspace. Let's create a dev environment for the Umbrella Dev. And also, I want to create a workspace for nxt.dev. by going back, selecting new workspace, and then creating here the nxt-dev. So here they are. If I go back to the main page, you will see that we have here now our 3 dev containers per company. And if you are not like me that loves to work on the terminal with Neovin, we also got you covered. You can click on the workspace and open VS Code Desktop. Let's do this on the nxt-dev, for example. So I will click here on nxt.dev, and then I can click on VS Code Desktop, and then clicking on Allow. So if you have VS Code installed on your PC, it will open a remote connection via SSH to the container, on which you can have a terminal and code via VS Code, having access to the file system. Isn't that amazing? It will download and install the Coder plugin, and soon we will have access to it. See, we are on our container. We can see it by the PS1, and also right here, which says that the Coder is connected to nxdev main. We can also open the remote folder by clicking here, open folder, and then doing OK. Right now, we have also access to all the files within my container. You might be thinking now, how do I clone my private repositories there? Coder also got you covered. Let's go back to the web interface. You can click on your user picture at the top right of the dashboard, and then select Account. Now, selecting SSH keys, you can copy the public SSH key for your user and add it to GitHub, GitLab, or any other Git server. You don't need to worry about the private key. Coder owns it and manages it for you. It's totally safe, and you can check the authentication on the container itself. The SSH key is not stored in the workspace. It's only fetched when the SSH command is invoked. All the keys are in memory and never written into disk. As soon as you add it to your Git account, you can start cloning via SSH. So let's review some Coder's benefits. We have on-demand development environments. We have persistent storage for your user home or defined directory. We can spin up environments blazingly fast. We have also secure SSH for Git. We also have remote development via IDE, VS Code, JetBrains, or even Terminal. You can move from a laptop to a PC or even a Raspberry Pi and keep developing from anywhere. It's web accessible from anywhere. It has low processing power needed on your local machine, since all the heavy workload will be done by Coder Workspace. So is it all? No, let's spice it up a bit. I want to talk about 3 nice features that we can use with Coder. The first one is template customization with Coder Provider on Terraform. Coder has its own Terraform provider, as we've seen, and it has one resource which is amazing and powerful, which is called Coder Parameter. What it does, it's enabling editable option for your workspace. Let's edit our template so we can add a parameter so we know how to use it. Let's go back to our templates and select Dev Environment. Now let's go to the source code and then let's edit the main.tf. Let's add this snippet to enable developers to select Terraform version that they want to install. So here we have the Coder parameter TFM version. So it has its name, its description, its icon, and also the default version. And then we have 4 different options, ranging from version 1.10 to 1.7. We also need to add one more snippet to the startup script. So let's add it right here. So this snippet will use the data Coder parameter TFM version value selected and use it to run the following commands. So let's click on build. After building, let's click on publish, but this time let's add a proper message to it. So the version name will be the version 1.1.0, and the message will be add the possibility to choose the Terraform version. Let's promote it to active version and then let's publish. After publishing it, let's go back to our nxt-dev workspace. So if we go here to the home page and select nxt-dev workspace, as soon as we click on update and then select update, this dialog will appear, on which you will be able to choose the Terraform version that you want to install. Let's not select the latest, but for example version 1.8.5, and then click on Update Parameters. If a new workspace is created using this template version, the user also needs to choose the version from the workspace parameters, so it's not just on the update, it's also on the creation. After the workspace is created, we can SSH into it or open the terminal. Let's do this by clicking on terminal right now. Now we can verify the version that was installed by running tfenv list. Then we see that the version is the 1.8.5, and we can also run terraform -- version just to check if it's configured the right way. So as you can see, it is there and it's configured. And then these Coder parameters enable us to have some custom code in our dev environment. The second nice feature is the icon library. If you noticed on our Terraform snippet, we used an icon directly from the internet. But what is also nice is that if you access your Coder instance and add /icons, you can see all the icons that are already built in and you can choose from them. So if I go back to the main page and right here, instead of workspaces, I add icons, you will see that we have all those icons ready to use. And if you just click on them, it will copy the value so you can use on your template. And the third nice feature is the dotfiles. We set up our development workspace using my personal dotfiles. By using that feature, we can customize our container with our preferences. I left on purpose one more thing to be changed. Let's go to templates and then select our dev environment. And going back again to source code, I want to edit again my main.tf file by clicking on edit. Let's find here the code parameter .files URI. And let's remove this line here, right here. After that, let's build and publish as a new version. So I will publish here as a version 1.2.0 and we will be able to add .files URL. So I'll click here on publish. And now we want to go back to the main page, and if we create a new workspace right now using the dev environment, you'll be able to specify your own repository for your .files. So there you have it. We've explored what Coder is, why is it a game changer, and how it can revolutionize the way developers work by providing a flexible, scalable, and efficient remote development environment. We went through the installation process, we set up a workspace template, and deployed our first development environment. We also looked at some real-world applications showcasing how Coder benefits developers working across multiple contracts or projects by streamlining their setup. On top of that, we touched on customizing templates with Terraform, using Coder parameter, managing .files, and even exploring the icon library to enhance your workspace experience. We saw that Coder provides a powerful solution for remote and containerized development, improving productivity while keeping everything secure and manageable. Whether you are an individual developer, part of a small team, or managing an enterprise-scale deployment, Coder brings consistency, efficiency, and automation in your workflows. After all of this, I'm curious if you are considering using Coder for your development environment or what challenges you could be facing in your current setup. If you have any questions, please check out coder.com on the bottom of the page for its social networks. They have a Slack and Discord, which they can help you on your needs. Thanks for watching, and I see you on the next one.